and welcome to Jared and Daniel's Movie Talks, because for the time being, we couldn't think of anything else better to call it.
Yeah, the title's a work in progress right now. So with this podcast, what we're looking to do is just talk about movies and what movies we've seen, what movies we're excited about. And what we really want to do is we want to celebrate movies. It's really easy to pick apart movies and just critique them for everything that they do wrong. But one thing that we want to focus on is why we love the movies and what makes them so great.
Yeah, so for our first episode, we thought there was no better way than to just kind of talk about some of our favorite movies of all time. So we both compiled a list of our top 10 with some honorable mentions. And it was really difficult. I know everyone says this, but it was really difficult to make the lists. I think we've both been trying to make them for like years. And it's, this is kind of a hard thing to like finally set in stone, but I think it's time to do it. I think we have them as pretty much as good as they're ever going to be.
Yeah, like you said, it really, once you get down into your top fives, especially for me, it just comes down to what you're feeling on that day.
Yeah.
Like, I was going through my list again last night, and I moved around 3 movies.
Wow. Yeah, it's tough. Like, it's going to be, like, different after we upload this podcast, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. But for the most part, this is top 10 with a little wiggle room in between.
Yes.
And in addition to our top 10s, we're also going to kick off what we've been watching recently by talking about the newest Marvel movie, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think we both liked Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, it was good.
I think we can agree it wasn't great. Could have been better in some areas.
Bring back Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, okay. That's what we'll talk about. We'll talk about Tom Holland first. I think Tom Holland is better than Andrew Garfield. I don't think he's as good as Tobey Maguire, and I don't think anyone will ever be as good as Tobey Maguire. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you in some facets, but the big thing for me is Tom Holland was the perfect Marvel Spider-Man. Okay. Andrew Garfield was a great Sony Spider-Man, I think. He wasn't as good of a Peter Parker, but I think he was a really good Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think Tom Holland was perfect for the comedic route that they were going for. Yes. They had to kind of get a younger guy to step in because, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were both like 30 when they were playing Spider-Man.
Yes. The one thing that I noticed was as soon as I saw Spider-Man Homecoming the second time, I went home and watched The Amazing Spider-Man, which was Sony's with Andrew Garfield. And I just realized how much darker it was. And just the colors and everything, the mood, the villain was even darker. But then you watch Spider-Man Homecoming and the colors are so vibrant and Tom Holland just brings a certain energy to the screen. And it's just a completely different feel, which I think Marvel was really looking for, and they really executed very well.
Yeah, you mentioned the villain. I think everyone knows Marvel's had an issue with their villains,
very much so.
All of their past movies. I think they fixed it this time around. Like from the opening scene, they really set up his motivations, I think, and they really tied it out really well in with like the world that's come before really well. I think this is one of their best villains for sure.
Yes, like you said, it was very refreshing to see a villain who wasn't hell-bent on destroying the entire world.
Yeah.
It was, for those of you who don't know, Michael Keaton plays Vulture.
This is a much smaller movie than a lot of what Marvel's done before, like the Avengers, the whole like New York City destruction scenes. And even though it does get a little convoluted, I guess we can't really go into spoilers. But I think the small scale definitely worked for this new direction of the Spider-Man series.
Yeah, originally that was one of my problems with it. But then I thought about it a little bit more, went and saw it a second time, but then I realized that the stakes are perfectly believable for the film because at the end of the day, Peter Parker is still a high schooler. He's not going to be out there halfway across the world just stopping an atomic bomb from going off.
Yeah.
It was very believable for him to just be catching, in essence, a thief.
I think the high school aspects were my favorite parts of it. The way they nailed the whole friendship dynamics with, I forget his name, Ned. Yeah, and yeah, I thought those were perfect. It felt very John Hughes.
Yes,
that was really cool.
One of my favorite parts of the movie is, well, this isn't really a spoiler because they say it in the trailer, but Tony takes Peter's suit away.
Yeah,
and then he kind of steps away from Spider-Man and he starts to focus more on being a high schooler. And the scene where he's getting ready for the homecoming dance is so relatable in every way. I was sitting there thinking, I went through this exactly. Walking up to the front door, feeling nervous and having to figure out what tie you're going to wear, how to tie it. It was all so believable.
Yeah. It's not a perfect movie though. That's for sure.
No.
I talked earlier about how they really nailed the villain this time around. I think there's still a lot of issues that are also like issues in all their previous films that are still here. I wrote a review for this movie and I mentioned there's a severe lack of comedy drama balance. I think sometimes like the comedy is misplaced in like some of the more dramatic aspects.
Yes, there's one scene that's particularly very important to the plot that I'm not going to spoil. But then they just throw in a joke right in the middle of it, and it completely takes you out of the moment. And it was one of the most gut-wrenching feelings I've had in a movie theater in a long time. It shocked me, and I was feeling Peter's pain, and then they just pulled me right out of it with a joke that it didn't add anything to the movie. This is very much it is a solo Spider-Man movie, but they still have this reliance on outside characters. Not as in previous movies like Civil War, even though I like Civil War. But like the whole Tony Stark thing, they didn't like. I was worried when I saw the trailers and they like Tony Stark was almost as in the trailers as much as Spider-Man was, and I was getting really worried about that. They didn't use him as much as I thought they would in the film, but he's still like, I think they're playing off him a little too much still. I thought he was used very effectively because in the original Iron Man trilogy, we saw him go through a character transformation, and now he's trying to take Peter through that same transformation. And so it adds to us because we've seen Tony Stark go through it, so it adds credibility, and we side with him thinking, yes, you need to step it up. You need to do all this, even though we're supposed to still be feeling for Peter a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
So out of 5 stars, what would you give this movie?
Well, I listed some negatives, and I do have some problems with it, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I think I'm being a little bit generous maybe, but I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay, that's about where I was sitting. I think it's not quite at 4. I think 4 is sitting around Iron Man 3 territory, and I don't think this is as good as Iron Man 3.
I would also give Iron Man 3 3.5 stars, but I like Iron Man 3 a little bit more.
Iron Man, okay, another thing that you said, I think this is better than the Civil War.
Really?
Yes. I thought Civil War was a good trailer idea.
Okay.
I definitely think it was a cash grab because at the end of the day, nothing really happened. And
yeah, what? I mean, I guess I can't argue with that, but as a whole, I think I was more entertained with Civil War. I think the action scenes especially were handled much better. Like the whole airport fight and that stairway fight, I think is actually my favorite scene in the movie. But
okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But I was just so annoyed with Black Panther.
You didn't like Black Panther?
No, he was so annoying.
So you're not excited about the new Black Panther movie?
Not really. But then again, I wasn't excited for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, neither was I. I was excited when I first heard about it, but the whole marketing buildup really kind of annoyed me, especially because they showed so much in the trailers.
Yes, the trailers gave away a lot, and so that is why I'm not watching the trailer for Blade Runner 2049.
And I'm not watching the trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi.
All right.
So there you have it.
So, yeah, 3.5. Definitely go see it. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we are going to jump into not our top 10s yet. We're going to jump into our honorable mentions, which almost made the cut, but did not. So, yes. Daniel, why don't you go first?
Alrighty. I have 6 honorable mentions. This is actually, I do have a ranked list of my top 100 movies that I can link in this video. But yeah, I wanted to limit it so we're not here forever. So I only have 6 honorable mentions, but this is kind of in order. So starting from the number 16 going down.
We're going to go one by one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my first one, we were going to do 5, but I have to mention The Matrix. This it used to be my favorite movie of all time.
It didn't make the top 10?
I know, it didn't make the top 10.
Oh, my goodness.
It used to be my favorite movie of all time. And it really is the movie that I say this is the movie that got me into filmmaking.
Oh, my goodness.
I've loved movies all my life, but The Matrix was really the first one where I was like, yeah, I'm totally interested in the whole process behind making movies. So that's why I really had to include it. And the lobby scene is my favorite movie scene of all time still to this day.
Lots of guns.
Yes.
I cannot believe it did not make you top 10.
I know. There's just so many good movies.
That's true. Can't fault you for that. So my first honorable mention, these are in no particular order, by the way, is 1991's Terminator 2.
Okay.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
They should have stopped after Terminator 2. but sadly they did not.
Okay. I haven't seen any of the Christian Bale 3 or 4. I haven't seen them, or Genesis.
I haven't seen Genesis, but I've seen the other two, and they are just
bad.
It hurts to watch them. It's like The Matrix. They should have just stopped after one and just left it up to your imagination.
I know.
But the reason it didn't make my top 10 is because of Edward Furlong's John Connor.
You know what? That's the reason. See, I used to love Terminator 2. Like back a few years ago, that would have been like a top 20 movie for me. Edward Furlong's performance kind of kills that movie for me.
He is so annoying. He's more annoying than Black Panther. He is the whiniest little kid, and he has so many voice cracks.
I know. That's the thing. That's the thing that keeps it from like being one of my favorites of all time.
Yes,
because it is an amazing movie.
And you put him up against Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's playing Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like the Terminator is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's just stone cold, no emotion, and it's just it could have been so good.
I know,
but it's still a great movie.
Yeah,
it is. So what's your next honorable mention?
Wait, okay, real quick. So you like that more than Terminator, like the first one? Have you seen the first one?
Yes, I've seen the first Terminator, and I think T2 edges it out slightly.
Yeah, okay. That's how I feel, too.
Okay.
My next honorable mention is Raging Bull.
Oh.
It's...
behind us.
Is
right
it?
There. Yeah,
there it is.
Up there. Along with The Matrix, you sinner.
Oh, yeah, Matrix up there, too. Oh, sorry. I feel so bad to not include that in my top 10. Okay. So, yeah, Raging Bull, I think it's one of Martin Scorsese's best films. It's way better than Rocky, I think. But at the same time...
I haven't seen Raging Bull yet. I almost bought it last weekend,
right.
But it would have ruined my buy two, get one free deal.
Yeah, I think it's way better than Rocky, but it's really kind of unfair to make that comparison because Raging Bull, although it is a boxing movie, that's not really what it's centered around. It's more of a character study, really, about Jake LaMotta, played by Robert De Niro, my favorite actor of all time, easily, and one of his best performances. And his dynamics with Joe Pesci too. I know you haven't seen it, but
no,
it's golden, and it's my favorite black and white movie.
All right, I'll take your word for it. I have to see that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my second honorable mention is 1975's Jaws, which that didn't make your top 10, did it?
No.
All right, and we also do not know each other's top 10s.
Yeah,
so this is as much of a surprise to us as it is to you. One of the things that I've realized the more I've watched movies is that I'm a big exposition guy. The more movies I watch, the more I'm disappointed by the endings, just because I feel like they don't do a good service to the beginning and to the build-up that's just incredible. One of the things that I love about Jaws is that it is mostly exposition because the shark is hardly in the movie at all because of props and technical difficulties and stuff, but the shark is used so effectively. But ultimately, the movie just seemed a little bit one note to me.
Okay.
Which is why it's not in my top 10, but I love it.
It is one of Spielberg's best. I think.
Yes. Great movie.
Alrighty. Okay.
Am I not going to like
my
this?
next honorable mention, The Godfather Part 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I'm...
Have you come around a little bit?
I think Part 1's better than Part 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you didn't like it as much. Like I thought you just like.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Okay.
But I remember watching it and I didn't love it.
Okay. Just a little disappointed from.
Yeah, because the first one's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So this is another film with Robert De Niro, and I think it's one of the best sequels ever made. It's a perfect continuation of the story of the first Godfather, but it's still its very own. It's still a very unique movie. I love how it's structured with the flashbacks of young Vito Corleone, like
yes, those are
playing
great.
alongside the present day like dealings with Michael. It's just brilliant. I love it.
All right, this is very fitting because of the room we're sitting in. But my third honorable mention is Moneyball.
Oh, Moneyball!
I love Moneyball. Moneyball is so good.
Yeah, if you'll notice, right there is an A's elephant.
They might not be able to see it.
They can see some of it. You can see like half of it. Yeah.
But, oh man, the Jonah Hill, Brad Pitt chemistry is incredible. It's my favorite scene in the movie. I think it's yours too. But whenever it's right before the trade deadline, and they are trying to get rid of I forget his name. It's like Ricardo Rincon or something.
Yep.
And they are just wheeling and dealing in the office, and it is incredible to watch.
Oh yeah.
Aaron Sorkin. Oh yes. But ultimately, why it's not in my top 10 is because I'm a Rangers fan.
Oh,
So
I'm an A's fan.
I-
Yeah. I mean, I love the Rangers too, of course. Live in Texas, so. But yeah.
it also just sheds a whole new light on baseball. It's so analytical, and it's not just, oh, let's go out in the sandlot and hit a baseball over the fence. It looks into baseball, and it just shows that there's so much more that goes on beneath the surface of sports, and it's incredible to watch.
Well, very nice. Okay. My next honorable mention is Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No, I was gonna watch it before
That's right,
we did
that
the
was one of
podcast,
them.
but I planned very poorly and had to finish my prep instead.
Okay, so Apocalypse Now is my favorite war movie of all time. It's very different from Saving Private Ryan and like Black Hawk Down and those kind of like types of war movies, you know? I think that's pretty clear. It's centered around the Vietnam War, so it's just very different just because of that. But it's chiefly focused on the senseless aspects of war and its dehumanizing effects. And I think it's a really powerful movie. There's lots of great movies about the Vietnam War, like Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, and The Deer Hunter. But I think Apocalypse Now is the best of the bunch. And the song "The End" by The Doors in the movie is my favorite use of a song in a movie ever.
Really?
Uh-huh.
It's
amazing.
We
It
might have to
bookends-
we
yeah.
might have to revisit that question later. Best use of
Ooh.
music in a movie.
I would love to.
All right, this is my last honorable mention. I don't have as many as Daniel.
Do you want me to do another?
How many do you have left? 2?
I have 2, yes.
Yeah,
I'll do
go ahead-
another.
Go ahead and do one.
Okay, so so these are the 2. These are my last 2. These are the 2 ones that I'm really disappointed not being able to include in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
So these could be swapped out with 10 and 9 on any given day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested.
Okay. Number 12 is Pulp Fiction.
Have not seen it yet.
I just rewatched this movie a few days ago in preparation for this, and it is just so good. Oh my gosh. The screenplay for this film is literally every screenwriter's Bible. Like, oh my gosh. There's nothing really to fault in this movie. Yeah, I mean, I really have nothing else to say. It's one of Tarantino's best.
So why didn't it make your top 10?
Because there are 10 movies I like just a little bit more. Well, 11 actually.
11.
Yeah.
All right. My last honorable mention is the original Godfather, Part 1.
Okay. Nice.
Like I said, I'm an exposition guy, and this movie just nails every aspect
Ooh.
of build-up.
Yes.
It's when would you say the movie climaxes? I'd say it's in the last
I mean,
30 minutes maybe.
There's just so many amazing scenes, like
Yes.
so many amazing tense scenes in it. We'll be talking about it a little later.
Oh,
of
we
course.
will. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My last honorable mention. It kills me not to be able to include this in my top 10.
I hope I've seen this.
Okay, number 11, technically, is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, wow.
My favorite Stanley Kubrick movie, and it's just one of the best movies ever made. I would put it in the top 5 best movies ever made. Not my favorite, but like best ever. Yeah.
That's a quick important distinction to make. These are
It is.
these are the top 10 favorite movies, not the best ones we've ever seen.
Yeah. It's just a movie that like every time you watch it, it just gets better and better. There's like it's so dense and it's so complex that rewatching it really just makes it that much better. Kubrick is legendary for his like being meticulous in with details. So is Fincher. We'll talk about David Fincher, I'm sure, a little bit later.
I think we will.
And yeah, I'm just so bummed I couldn't put it in my top 10. But like I said, there are 10 movies that I just like a little bit more.
All right. Well, if those are your honorable mentions, I'm very interested to see your top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of top 10,
We have arrived.
we are here. So I'm going to kick it off with my number 10 favorite movie of all time as of now.
Yeah, and very important as of now. These will change. These are not concrete at all.
And I am perfectly ready for no one to agree with me on these.
Okay.
I'm prepared mentally. Okay, so my number 10 is 2012's Skyfall.
Okay.
This was my first Bond movie to ever see.
I'm trying to think. That must have been mine too. I saw that in did you see it in theaters? I saw it in theaters.
No, I saw it. I
Ooh.
Redboxed it.
Oh, okay.
And Oh my goodness, there are just so many things that are great about this. It's directed by Sam Mendes, starring Daniel Craig, Javier Bardem, and Judi Dench. After watching this movie, it's started my love of Bond, and so I went back and watched all the old ones, and I realized that this movie incorporates every aspect of Bond that people love. It has his classic seduction, the car that he takes to Skyfall is so cool.
Yeah.
And the bar scene in the casino in Shanghai.
Oh,
I think.
yeah,
Man, with the Komodo dragons, just he walks up, orders the drink. That's the classic Bond that we saw with Sean Connery and Dr. No.
Speaking of fights, the final fight in that movie is probably my favorite scene in any Bond movie I've ever seen.
Really? I thought Casino Royale's opening sequence was. Oh, I opened a wound.
Oh, man. I still don't know whether I like Casino Royale or Skyfall more. That's like, those are the two best for me. I haven't seen many films other than many Bond films other than the Daniel Craig ones, but those are my two favorites for sure.
Yes, definitely. Going back to the battle at Skyfall, I wrote down one thing that I didn't notice until now, and that is, it is very Home Alone-esque.
Home Alone-esque?
Yes.
In what ways? Please tell.
Okay, think about it. They're at home, they're alone, and they're having to use what's with them to fight off the crooks. Not the crooks, the bad guys. But think about it. The shotgun light bulbs that they make, and they put stuff in the floorboards. Yeah. It's them versus the world, and it's incredible. I'm trying to think. Okay. My favorite scene of the entire movie it's kind of controversial because it's a little creepy, but it's the scene where Silva, Javier Bardem's character, has Bond.
The walking scene, the one where he's just like kind of walking.
Can you hear that? A splitter issue.
Oh, I think I'm good. Okay, we're good.
Okay. The walking scene. I think
the scene where he's walking. You talking about the rat?
Yes. Yeah. In the computer room when he has Bond tied up, the rat eat rat scene.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness.
Great scene.
It is so good. The way that Javier Bardem delivers those lines. He seduces you with his words.
Yes.
And it's a little weird to say, but he does. And it's just
creepy
incredible.
Story too.
That's another thing. The colors in this movie are so soothing. Everything kind of has a matte finish, and it's very bright in some scenes. It's very dark in others, but it all blends so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I want to be careful when I say this, but the lines are so smooth that they almost put me to sleep. That could be a bad thing, that a movie puts you to sleep. But the way that the actors deliver their lines, they speak softly in their British accents, and it's just so mesmerizing.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yes. Quickly to wrap it up, my MVP of this movie is Ben Winshaw's Q. This is the first time that we see Q in the Daniel Craig movies.
Yes.
And Ben Winshaw just kills it. That scene when they're in the art gallery and Q just slides over to him and starts talking to him, and Bond has no idea who he is.
Perfect introduction.
It's incredible. And then he just, all the gadgets that he has, and then whenever he's trying to figure out how Silva hacked them, he has very limited screen time, but he's incredible when he has it. And he ends up saving Bond's life with that pistol that reads his palm. Mm-hmm. And then when in the casino, when the hitman gets the gun, but he can't kill Bond.
Yes.
So without Q, James Bond would not be here.
Oh, wow. Interesting observation. I never noticed that before. Okay. My number 10. It's not up there anymore. Okay. My number 10 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So Jack Nicholson in this film gives hands down my favorite performance in any movie of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time, yeah.
Wow.
The supporting cast is also amazing. Louise Fletcher, Danny DeVito, William Redfield, and Christopher Lloyd being the standouts.
We will talk about Christopher Lloyd later.
Oh, good. I'm excited. Okay. I actually read the book before I saw this movie, and I love both of them. I think I prefer the movie. There's some different things that it does in the movie for sure, but I think the way it's told with a couple of the characters is much better. And one thing I always notice when I watch this thing is it really captures the entire emotional spectrum, and the ending is one of the best ever as well. Yeah.
All right. I have it at home. The DVD copy sitting on my dresser, and I have not watched it. So
As usual.
I will have to watch that and many other movies that I'm sure we will talk about later.
Yes.
All right. My number 9 movie is 1988's Die Hard.
Oh.
Are we going to talk about this later?
No, we're not going to talk about it later,
okay.
but I love Die Hard.
Die Hard is, man, it's the action movie to top all action movies.
It is the best action movie.
It's directed by, and the best Christmas movie.
And the best Christmas movie, yeah.
It's directed by John McTiernan, starring Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman.
Oh, Alan Rickman, rest in peace.
So, one of the things that I love about this movie is that it has a singular setting. It's very central. They don't leave the building. The farthest you get from the building is maybe 20 yards away on the outside. Yeah. And it's also one of the most realistic action movies, I feel. There's nothing outrageous about the plot. It's just bang 'em up, shoot 'em up in a building with limited ammo, which I love that they depict limited ammo, because in some movies, people just fire off unlimited rounds and they never reload, and it's just so annoying.
I know.
One thing that I also did not notice until I started doing this is that this movie inspired Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Did it? Oh.
Think about it.
What's his name? The cop, right? What's the cop's name?
Kevin James?
No. In Die Hard.
Is it Officer Blart?
Isn't it Al? Yeah, Sergeant Al Powell. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm just saying that Paul Blart is much like this movie.
Okay.
And thanks to Die Hard for that. I like Paul Blart.
Yeah. I haven't seen Paul Blart in a long time.
Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber is a great villain. He's so ruthless. In the scene where he has the CEO of the company hostage and he says, "I'm going to count to 3." Great. Usually when you see that, they don't always pull the trigger at 3. But he does, and he just splatters that guy's brains on the window. And he doesn't even bat an eyelash. It's
ruthless.
Yes, extremely ruthless. Everything from having no shoes for the entire plot to just the self-dialogue that Bruce Willis has when he's in the air duct and he says, "Oh, come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few
So
laughs."
many lines, so many quotable lines.
It's so good. But my MVP of this movie is, of course, Bruce Willis, because I cannot think of anyone who would be better at this role.
Yeah, John McClane, one of the best characters ever.
And what a
he's the everyman, and that's why this movie's so great. Yeah. That's what makes it so great.
What a great name too, John McClane.
I know.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to your number 9, Daniel.
Alrighty. My number 9 is David Fincher's Seven.
Have not seen it.
I'm really disappointed that I couldn't put this at number 7, but it is what it is. So, okay, now watching Seven for the first time was the single greatest movie watching experience I've ever had. And I've still only seen it that one time. But, in fact, it's the only movie in my top 10 that I've still only seen once, pretty sure. Yes, that's true. What I just said. Okay. So what I want to talk about with Seven, what makes it so special and like so different from like your typical it's not really a buddy cop movie, but there's 2 cops in this movie, like crime dramas, like stuff like that. What sets it apart, I think, is the incredibly bleak atmosphere. Now I know you haven't seen it, and I don't want to. For that reason, I don't really want to go in detail with
What's in the box?
Or what's in the box. Oh, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, we will.
So I think the 3 greatest like atmospheres ever like put to film are in Apocalypse Now, the original Alien, and then Seven. And you have not seen Dark until you've seen Seven. Like, it is just, there's no movie that's more dark than Seven. It's just, and for that reason, it might turn off a lot of people, but I don't know. I guess I just like stuff like that, oddly. David Fincher's direction, as usual, is flawless. He's my second favorite director, as I said. Did I say that earlier?
Did you say Scorsese? No, you said Kubrick was your favorite, right?
No, Kubrick's my third favorite.
Is Scorsese your first?
No.
Then no,
we'll talk in a sec. We'll say it. Okay. We'll talk about that in the next movie that I say. Who's my favorite director?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are the leads in this movie, and they are unbelievably good. But Kevin Spacey steals the show. He's barely in this movie, and when he shows up, Oh man. I mean, I can't even talk about it. And I won't talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything. But I will say it has my favorite ending, easily, of any movie ever.
All right, another one that I have to see right now.
Oh, you disappoint me.
I'm sorry. Hey, my parents, they didn't let me
Oh,
go
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8 for me is 1994's The Shawshank Redemption, which, are we going to be talking about this later?
Yeah, I think we might talk about this later.
All right, so I won't go into huge detail right now, but it's directed by Frank Darabont, starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. Once again, I'm an exposition guy, and this movie nails it.
Yes, it does.
It's just the mundane life of prison, or so we might think.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. The way that we get to learn about so many different characters is incredible. The way they're able to expand upon all the different personalities in the prison. Oh man, the way they're able to build from nothing. We're coming into the prison just as blank as Andy Dufresne is, but at the end we feel like we know the people as well as he does.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'll elaborate on this more later, but my MVP of the movie is Deception.
Deception.
Yes.
Wow. Very ambiguous. Okay. So moving into my number 8. So yeah, here it is. My favorite director of all time is Quentin Tarantino, and my favorite movie of his is Inglourious Bastards. So the whole movie is just a total masterpiece. But the opening farmhouse scene, I think, it just features some of the best writing you'll ever see. And I think that's the best thing Quentin Tarantino's ever written. He writes and directs his own movies. The way he uses like casual chit chat in his films to create tension and intimidation is just like, it's something he did a lot in Pulp Fiction, but it's this film where he truly has like perfected it.
Going off what you just said right there, I would say that my favorite scene is not the farmhouse scene, but the scene where they're at the restaurant and it's
like the
Christoph
bar scene?
Waltz,
Yeah.
yes, and they're talking about the cream.
Oh, in Django.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Which, Jackson, if you're listening to this, I know that you are cringing right now because that's the ultimate film guy scene. But man, it is so good. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's really great. Yeah. I mean, this film's just filled with scenes like that, great scenes like that. And the last line of this movie, it's not really a spoiler, it is the last line, but the last line of the movie is, I think this just might be my masterpiece. That is Quentin Tarantino talking there, and I am not one to disagree with the master.
I would also have to agree with him as well.
Good.
All right, so are we at number 7 right now?
Yes, we're at number 7.
All right, so number 7 for me, this was mentioned in your honorable mentions.
Really?
Yes, it is 1999's The Matrix.
The Matrix.
Directed by the Wachowski siblings, because I'm not really sure.
Yeah, are they brothers or sisters at this point? Who knows?
Let's just call them the siblings. It stars Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, not to exclude Carrie-Anne Moss, who is great in this movie, and Hugo Weaving, who is my MVP. We will get to that later. Like I said in Skyfall, every single line is delivered to perfection.
Yeah.
The way
Even Keanu delivers his lines well.
Yes, that's the strange thing. Keanu Reeves, he plays this movie with such ignorance in the beginning. That's incredible. Once again, he represents us coming into the Matrix. We have no idea what it is. We have no idea what's going on. And the way that Agent Smith, played by Hugo Weaving, confronts him in the interrogation scene in the beginning of the movie, the way that he delivers his slow lines, it's so intimidating, but at the same time, you want to be best friends with him, just so you can hear him talk all day.
Yeah, you're really interested when he steps into the picture, and you're like, he gives him that, of course, blue pill, red pill option. You really want to you really want to find out like more of what this world's about. It's really awesome.
That's Lawrence Fishburne. He delivers his lines so well. Whenever he's explaining the Matrix to Neo, and the scene wherever he's like, "Oh, I know kung fu," that seems so good.
It's amazing.
Where everyone outside the Matrix is gathering around the computer to watch the fight. It's just so
It's exciting. It's like it's exciting like few movies are today. It's the greatness of the '90s, really.
It's hard to say that a movie with such a bleak premise can be fun, but this movie is just fun. It's fun to watch, despite how dark it is. That's another thing. The tints and shades of the movie. It's a lot of blues and a lot of greens. It almost makes it look like you're watching the movie on a computer screen.
Yeah.
It's kind of fuzzy.
It adds that extra texture to the movie.
And what really did this movie for me is how they explain everything to us along with Neo. It's not like breaking the fourth wall and they're just explaining it to the viewer thinking that we're stupid. They recognize that Neo has no idea what's going on, and so they take the time to explain it to him, and at the same time we learn exactly what Neo's learning.
Yeah, I have a fun fact about this movie. So the Wachowski siblings, of course, they were like, they took it to a studio and they wanted a specific budget but couldn't get it. So they made the opening sequence with the entire budget that they were given, and then they gave it to the studio, and then they gave them the budget that they actually wanted. So
Good move by that studio.
Yeah, good move by the studio. Pretty smart move by the Wachowski siblings as well. And that's The Matrix.
All right. Just quickly again, my MVP for the movie is Hugo Weaving. He is my favorite character in The Matrix. He literally in The Matrix.
Agent Smith.
Oh man, Agent Smith is
Mr. Anderson.
he's such a good villain, and the way he delivers that line is so good that I'm almost scared to even attempt to say it because I know I'm just not even going to come anywhere close to how he says it. Just man, whenever he's interrogating Morpheus, he takes off the glasses and man.
Yeah.
If you have not seen The Matrix, please go watch The Matrix.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch Matrix. Mm-hmm.
All right, that wraps it up for my number 7. Daniel, what is your number 7?
Okay, my number 7 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. My favorite Western of all time. It's a long movie with a long title, but it's also one of the fastest 3+ hour watches I've ever had. Yeah, it really flies by. I think this is the oldest movie in my top 10. Came out in 1966. And if you've never seen it before, you shouldn't let the runtime or... Well, we're not going to be talking about this later, are we?
No. I was just checking to see if it was the oldest movie that we have all together, and it is.
It is? Okay,
Yes.
1966. Nothing goes further than that. So yeah, like I was saying, if you've never seen this film, don't let the release date or the runtime scare you away, because there really are few movies more entertaining than this one. The lead actors, Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and especially Eli Wallach. Rest in peace. He just died like last year or something. He was like 98 years old.
Did he play Angel Eyes?
Tuco.
Oh, he was Tuco.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
They are what make this movie such a delight to watch over and over again. It also contains possibly my favorite film score of all time.
Ennio Morricone does a
Ennio
fantastic job.
Morricone, who recently did The Hateful Eight, which is also fantastic.
It won the Oscar, didn't it?
It did.
Yes.
He finally got his Oscar. So I love other Sergio Leone movies. Once Upon a Time in the West is another great one. But for me, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is his masterpiece.
All right. Can't disagree with you there. It's very good.
Yeah.
All right. My number 6 movie is 1982's The Thing, directed by John Carpenter, starring Kurt Russell. We actually watched it for the first time together in the room right behind us.
We did.
And I would just like to say for the record, what?
Yeah, the way that happened, we were like looking for a movie to watch for like 30 to 45 minutes, and we're like, oh my gosh, we just need to watch something already. So we're going through my brother's library, and we saw The Thing, and we're like, yeah, let's just watch this one. And it was amazing.
From the beginning opening sequence with the creepy music playing, I was hooked.
Ooh, yeah.
It was technically my first strictly horror movie, even though it's kind of still sci-fi. Yeah. It was so good. Just the way that they're able to build suspense with the isolation of the Arctic.
Yes.
For people who don't know, it's set in a research facility out in the middle of nowhere, and they find a thing out in a spaceship that's been buried in ice for a very long time. And just the whole aspect of them being alone with not knowing what's going on, it works so well. And whenever they're able to build suspense with the dogs in the kennel at the beginning, when you first are introduced to the thing, it's terrifying because you want the dogs to be okay, but you know that they're not going to be okay, which is just, it's a hopeless feeling.
Yeah. Has a really bad jump scare too, with the blood testing.
Oh man, that's such a good scene.
Yeah.
It also has a little nod to Alien, not in the strictest sense of the chest burster, but whenever they are first examining the first human who has died,
Oh yeah.
or the first thing that has died
Yeah.
in the form of a human. They
It's like an opposite of the chest burster.
Yeah. The chest actually opens, and the guy sticks his hands in, and teeth close on him and just bite his arms off.
Yeah.
So it just showed that this
Practical
movie.
effects. That's why it still looks so good.
That's my MVP of this movie. The practical effects.
Oh.
They are so believable, and I'm sad that they remade this movie. I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it either.
But I
Gonna
just
stay
know
away.
that it's not going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're able to give a little nod to Alien and say we're not the first people to do a movie like this with an alien and kind of alone out in the middle of nowhere, but John Carpenter's able to create something that's completely original. I think it's the scariest movie Alien of all time because it can take any form, it can sneak up on you, and the scariest moment of that entire movie for me is if you haven't seen it, Peter Maloney plays a character called George Bennings, he's the redhead.
Yes.
And he's the first victim of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they chase the thing that is... It takes the resemblance of what it kills. So he kills George Bennings and is running outside trying to escape. And they catch up to him. And they shine the flashlight on George Bennings' face, and he is not fully transformed into a human. And his fingers are 2 feet long. One of his eyeballs is almost popping out, and he just turns and lets out a screech.
It's amazing.
It is. I'm getting chills right now. It is the scariest thing I think I've ever seen on screen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so scary that I can't watch it again. I want to watch that scene over and over again because of the effect with the practical effects and the music and the lighting. It's, my goodness, it's just so good.
Yeah. So one way I like Alien, I think a little bit more.
Okay.
You made the comparison. One way it tops Alien, I think, is so it is like they both have a kind of like a creature kind of thing vibe, but the thing takes it up a notch, and it has the I'm saying the thing over and over again. It has the part of the movie where the thing becomes like it transforms into people, so it can be disguised. So that's really what the suspense, where the suspense comes from in this movie. And
that's another great thing about the movie. The tagline is "Man is the warmest place to hide."
Yeah,
if that doesn't scare you right then, I don't think you have a pulse. All right, moving on to your number 6, Daniel.
I'm excited about this one. Number 6 is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Also
right there. If you're watching a video. So this is my favorite Steven Spielberg movie. While I credit The Matrix with being the movie that got me into filmmaking, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the one that got me into movies, period. For that reason, it does carry that like nostalgia and sentimental value. But all that aside, Raiders is still like a really awesome adventure movie with one of cinema's most iconic characters, Indiana Jones.
Definitely.
One of the things I find to be so spectacular about this movie is the pacing. There's hardly a moment like to breathe in this movie. It's just, I don't know how long it is, but it's probably like an hour and 40 minutes of just straight action adventure. When I rewatch it, there's always a scene that I look forward to, from the iconic opening to the bar shootout with Marion, to the plane fight, the truck chase, all the way to that great ending. It's just an enthralling adventure, and I could not possibly leave it out of this list. What's the running time?
It's 1 hour and 55 minutes.
1 hour and 55
You were
minutes.
close.
Even more impressive.
I'm not going to lie. When I first saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think I was maybe 10.
Yeah.
And the ending scene when they open the Ark
Scared me to death, but
terrifying.
I saw it when I was like 6 years
It
old.
was absolutely terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
It was, and practical effects, again, so believable, and that's why it holds up.
Yeah, but that's one of my fondest memories of the movie, just getting so scared of that last scene. In fact, for a long time, I was afraid to watch the ending scene again. I'm serious. I probably didn't watch the ending scene again for another 4 or 5 years because I thought it was so... Because I was 6 when I saw it. So I went back to it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. But still,
no, it's a really good
effects
scene.
are amazing.
Which, another thing, I'm going to take a little swing at George Lucas here.
Uh-huh.
Why replace practical effects with the CGI?
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
I feel robbed as a as a later Star Wars fan for not being able to see the original
I
format.
I know.
Because I feel like it would just add so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the new Blu-rays, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
All right, moving into our top 5.
This is the good stuff.
Yes, this is where it gets good for us at least. You might not agree, but
No, you should agree.
well, I don't, this one I feel is. I think this movie that I'm about to say is probably the weakest that critics have responded to.
Oh yeah.
But I just love this movie. It's 2000's The Patriot, directed by Roland Emmerich.
So that moved down a little bit. I knew you used to like have that like in the top 2.
Yes. It's starring Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger. This was my first R-rated movie to ever watch.
Me too.
And for that reason, I cannot deny what it has done to me. It opened up a whole new aspect of what movies can do.
It did.
But I mean, before this, it was all Disney Channel movies and just animation. But now we get to see real humans just go at it. And
Mel Gibson go at people with tomahawks.
yes, Mel Gibson is one of my favorite actors of all time.
He's great.
I just recently watched Lethal Weapon, and just he's so charismatic, and but he's so off. Like you feel uneasy whenever you watch him in that kind of role.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't seen Lethal Weapon. I've seen a couple scenes from it. Yeah, he looks really good in it.
One thing that I love about this movie is that it's able to blend so many different elements. You have the family aspect, where really the whole reason Benjamin Martin, Mel Gibson's character, gets pulled into the Revolutionary War is because he's trying to avenge his family.
Yeah. Really great motivations.
Yes, and yet he's a family man, but he's so brutal. Like that tomahawk scene in the creek, man.
Great stuff there.
I watched The Patriot first, and then right after I watched Gladiator. Those are my first 2 R-rated movies. Man, I just got an onslaught of violence, and it was incredible. Susan Martin, Benjamin Martin's daughter, she will not speak. She hasn't spoken since Benjamin Martin's wife died, right after giving birth to her, and she is the heart and soul of this movie. The scene
MVP?
No, not quite. The entire movie, Mel Gibson just can't catch a break. This movie's been out for a long time, so I'm going to spoil something.
Okay.
This is right before his son, Heath Ledger, gets killed by Jason Isaacs.
Yeah.
And before this, he's already lost one son. He lost his entire farm. Just everything's fallen apart for him. He's still feeling the guilt of what he had done in earlier wars, the French and Indian War, I think. And he just cannot catch a break. His own daughter won't even talk to him. But as he's leaving to go on his kind of last charge to take down the British, his daughter calls him back to her. And
love that scene.
I had to go back and watch it last night, and I almost cried.
Yeah.
You
watched this last night?
Yes,
just the scene?
Just the scene. I hardly ever cry in movies, but oh my goodness, she calls him. I'm getting chills again. She calls him back, and he is just. You can see it in his face that he does not want to go. Mm-hmm. He wants to stay and be with his family, but at the same time, he recognizes that he loves his family too much to not give them the freedom that they deserve. Yeah. So he has to go fight. And man, that's the first real scene where we get to see all of Benjamin Martin wrapped up. We get to see how much he loves his family, yet how much he respects his country and the service that he needs to provide. This movie is able to incorporate heart, anguish, and fun. The negotiation scene with Colonel Tavington, where they string up the scarecrows to do a prisoner swap, and then at the end, Colonel Tavington, I can't think of the guy's name right now that plays him, but he agrees to it, and he pulls out his telescope, and then he just sees that they're scarecrows, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it really has everything. It has that comedy too, just like that. You mentioned this movie made you almost cry. You want a tearjerker? The Green Mile is the movie for you. Oh my gosh. That is the saddest movie I have ever seen in my life. You've seen The Green Mile?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I did not like it.
Oh.
But then again, I watched it when I was like 14, so I probably need to go rewatch it. Yeah. But
it's a long one. Yeah.
Yes. My MVP of the movie is, of course, Mel Gibson, because he is able to take us through so many emotions in just, I think it's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's a very long movie. but he's able to just take us on this journey with him where we get to experience the fun and the heartbreak and just the pure rage that he displays to fight for his family. It's once again, I just can't think of anyone better to cast than Mel Gibson.
Yeah. The Patriot was directed by Roland Emmerich. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
I wasn't sure.
And he directed like Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, and
Bad
2012.
movies. Very bad movies.
So yeah, he directed this one after Independence Day.
I think he also directed White House Down.
Yeah, he did.
Which
That's
is
right.
kind of good.
I didn't like White House Down. That has Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I'll admit Jamie Foxx is not a good precedent.
Yeah, but okay, so he made Independence Day. Yeah, it's a decent movie. 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow, not so much. So I'm just wondering, like, why he wouldn't keep making movies like The Patriot? Because this is his best movie, I think.
Yeah. Yes, I'd agree. But it barely got a green Metascore. I think it's sitting at 66 or something close to that. It wasn't.
It's not the most acclaimed movie. I think it's just like the fact that it was our first R-rated movie.
63. Yeah, it barely snuck in.
Yeah.
And it only has a 7.2 on IMDb. It's just, I think a big part of this movie for me is the experience of watching it. Whenever I watch this movie, I get taken back to when I was
Yeah. When did you see it?
I think I saw it when I was either 9 or 10.
I was 8.
You were 8?
I beat you.
The first time I watched it, I was with my dad, and I remember asking him if I could watch it, and he said yes, and I just got so excited because I knew I was about to watch my first R-rated movie.
Yeah, it's not even like, it doesn't even seem like it would be an R-rated movie today.
Except for the cannonball scene.
Yeah, except for if the cannonball scene, yeah.
Cannonball and tomahawk.
I was instructed to look away from that scene
That'll
when I was
do it.
8 years old. So yeah,
Good movie. All right.
good movie.
You're number 5, Daniel.
Okay, this might be the most shocking one for you, like the one that you just didn't see coming.
Okay.
Number 5 is the most recent film that I have seen to make my top 10, and it is Taxi Driver.
Okay.
As stated many a time before, Robert De Niro is my favorite actor, and I think this is my favorite performance of his. Travis Bickle is the character he plays, and he is just one of the most interesting and layered characters I've ever seen in a movie. His descent into madness is just transfixing. Like, I watched this movie twice last month. That was the first time I saw it. And, like, well, I watched it once, and then I just had to watch it again. Like, that's like, oh my gosh, I can't even talk about it. Paul Schrader's script is one of the best ever written, and the score by Bernard Herrmann, I think this was his last score ever, is absolute perfection. It's just that rare film where everything holds some level of significance, and it's just fantastic.
Okay, he did get nominated for Best Actor. He didn't win, though.
Yeah, I know, and Rocky won Best Picture the year Taxi Driver came out.
I don't think Rocky was Best Picture material.
I know, it wasn't.
It's very boring.
This is Best Picture material.
Another one that I have to see.
Gosh, you disappoint me.
Oh, boy. All right, is that all you want to say there?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. So now we're moving on to my number 4, and this is the second oldest movie on the list. It is 1968's Once Upon a Time in the West.
Ooh. Okay.
What was that?
Okay, never mind. This used to be your favorite.
Okay, this
There
is where
was
we
a period of time
This
where
is
this
where
was
we get
your
into the
favorite.
technicality of best movie we've seen and favorite movies.
Oh, so this was the
still
best
sits at the
movie.
top because it's my favorite movie, and it's also it's one of my favorite movies that I think is done the best. Everything about this movie is perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's directed by Sergio Leone, starring Henry Fonda and Charles Bronson, who is, if you haven't seen a movie with Charles Bronson, go watch a movie with Charles Bronson. He is so good.
Harmonica.
Some of my favorite things about this movie, it's able to intertwine so many character arcs so well.
Mm-hmm.
You have, in essence, 4 main characters. You have Frank, played by Henry Fonda. They call him the man with the harmonica. They call him just strictly harmonica for time's sake, I think. That's Charles Bronson. Oh gosh, I think her name is Jill McBain.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
I can't remember who plays her. And then Cheyenne, who is a outlaw. And they all are so different,
Yeah.
But yet they all end up chasing the same thing, which is Frank.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to see. I think it depicts life very well because it shows how one action you do can just offset. So it can set off a chain reaction and affect so many other people that you didn't even expect. Because Frank frames Cheyenne for killing Jill's family, and at the same time, Harmonica's chasing Frank for... We'll talk about that later. So and the music in this movie, once again,
Ennio
Morricone.
Ennio Morricone, yeah.
The first time I watched this movie, there's a scene where where Cheyenne goes into a just a regular like general store saloon, and you start to hear a harmonica play, and he takes a lantern and slides it into the corner, and you just see Charles Bronson sitting there playing his harmonica, and his theme music for the movie,
so cool.
It is, oh my goodness, it is so good. I could listen to it all day if I had to.
Yeah.
The lantern swings up and illuminates his face, and the music hits its crescendo, I think. I don't know music.
Yeah.
And
that's
and it, as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself,
you were in love.
This is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's number 4 right now, but then again, that could change any day now. But that scene is just so good. The way that the music is utilized. There's the theme for the entire movie is so heartfelt, and that's when Jill McBain first sees that her family has been murdered by Frank.
Oh yeah,
and
that scene.
You feel it in your heart. But my MVP for this movie is flashbacks.
Flashbacks.
We are able to find out Harmonica's motives for chasing Frank right at the end. Spoiler alert! Right before he kills Frank, they show him with his. I think it's his brother or his dad. Someone is standing on his shoulders.
Yes.
In a noose.
It's his brother, I think. Okay. Or no, he's a little bit old. I think it's his older brother or something.
I think so. And oh my gosh, Frank. We don't exactly know why Frank is doing this, but he comes up. Charles Bronson is standing underneath him to keep his brother from dying, and he comes up, shoves the harmonica in his mouth that Charles Bronson carries throughout the rest of the movie. He falls down, and his brother dies.
So. Good.
And the fact that Harmonica carries that harmonica throughout the entire movie to remind him of what his mission is.
And I love the way that ending is foreshadowed throughout the entire movie with that like blurred figure becoming closer and closer. It's amazing.
It shows us exactly what we've been waiting for and why the movie feels like there's so much resting on a sound conclusion. And I said this earlier, the more and more I watch movies, the more and more I'm disappointed by the endings. Not with this movie.
Yeah.
I think that this movie's the best part of this movie is the ending, which comes with the flashback. And so that is why it's my number 4. I also think it just depicts life then, which I'm not a huge expert on that, but I think it depicts life very well back then because everyone's sweaty and you feel kind of dirty when you get the close-ups of the characters.
I love Sergio Leone's close-ups on people.
Man, the scene in the beginning where the fly is just flying all over that guy's face.
Yeah.
You feel like it's on your face and you just want to smack it off.
Uh-huh.
But you can't. Man.
So I do want to say, I want to mention this one scene I think is incredible. Probably my favorite in the movie. The ending is great, but it's one of the first scenes. It's the scene where the McBain farm is like massacred by Henry Fonda and his gang.
His crew comes out of the bushes.
Yeah, I think that's where the main theme of the movie is first used. When the kid runs out of the house and then they get that great guitar part.
That's Harmonica's theme. Yes.
Okay. Love that scene. So great.
Man, it's so good. If you haven't seen it, don't be deterred by the runtime. Go see it.
Yes.
All right. Your number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is the best Star Wars movie.
Oh, no, don't listen to him.
It is The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Now, okay, let me just go through this real quick. Okay, well, this hardly needs an explanation at all, but okay, so The Empire Strikes Back has, I don't know if I should say this based on what we might talk about later. Okay, so there's action, there's drama, there's comedy, there's romance, there's suspense. This has the classic lines in the movie. The I love you, I know, Luke, I am your father. I guess spoiler alert. Everyone's seen Star Wars. It takes everything great about Star Wars and makes it the best it can possibly be. It is the best Star Wars film.
This hurts me. All right,
There is not even a contest.
I have an idea. My number 3 is A New Hope. Can
Okay.
we have a little
debate
battle here?
Or should we save that kind of thing for another episode? I think we should save it, depending on how long we want this to be, because
All right.
our battle could.
I
go
guess
on.
I'll be able to get in the final
Okay,
punch.
so
Next.
what we'll do is we will have a big Star Wars episode when The Last Jedi is coming out, maybe.
I like that idea. All right.
Okay, we'll talk about everything Star
For the
Wars.
meantime, I will hold my tongue
Yes,
because
you
you
do
are
that.
wrong.
You do that, but talk about your number 3 now.
Are you done with your number 4?
I'm done.
I felt like I rushed you a bit. All right. So as I said earlier, my number 4 is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, the best episode. You know who's in this movie. I don't need to say that. And I feel like this is kind of a weak point to make, but I just want to get it out there because I think it is true. This did set everything in motion.
Yeah.
And
I get that.
It did such, which is kind of unfair to say because it's the 4th episode or the first really, and Empire Strikes Back.
It's the first. It's definitely
Empire Strikes Back is the second, so of course it has an upper hand there. But the way that it is able to set this universe in motion is just incredible. We're able to start with something as simple as a rescue mission on a Death Star of a princess, and it grows into something so much more where it's a family story, and it's a story about 2 warring parties that everything's on the line. Just everything about this movie is so good, from the Death Star scenes to John Williams' score, which
classic.
Man,
There are a few better.
if you haven't heard Binary Sunset, you have not lived.
Yeah, but I will say, and I mean, again, I don't want to get too much into the whole Empire Strikes Back and New
Don't
Hope
say it.
comparison. The score is better in The Empire Strikes Back. It's the first. I mean, there's no Darth Vader theme in The New Hope.
What's your favorite scene in
Empire?
Back? Yes.
Okay, there's a few that come to mind. I don't think I can pick a favorite right now. The Battle of Hoth is a classic.
That's the
one.
only good part about Empire Strikes Back.
The only good part.
That's
I
the
don't think
only
so.
good part.
Okay. Of course, the lightsaber duel with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. You're not
That's a
gonna
good
say
scene.
that's okay. What else is there? Oh, there's just I love the training scenes with Yoda and Luke.
Okay.
I think those are so great.
Frank
The-
Oz is
yeah,
Yoda
Dagobah.
introduced.
The setting is so amazing. I love it.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, favorite scene. I love everything about this movie. So
All right. I'm going to say that my favorite scene from A New Hope is the trash compactor scene, because
that is probably also my favorite.
the thing that this scene is able to do is it is able to reveal just how every single character works. We're able to see, okay, this is how he plays, and this is the role that he plays in this group of merry bandits. This is the role that he plays. Right before they go into the trash compactor, they rescue Princess Leia, and Luke busts in, and she just delivers that line that I think is her most iconic. Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?
Yes.
And right then you know, okay, this isn't your typical damsel in distress. And we learned this earlier when Tarkin blows up the planet in front of her. She's like, oh, I knew you by your stench. Like, she's not scared of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an important thing to learn early on, because that's definitely demonstrated in the next 2 movies. We also get to see Han Solo, who's just wisecracking, and he's just there for the money at the beginning, really. And that's an important thing to see through his transformation to the end of the movie, where he's there fighting for his friends.
Uh-huh.
Luke, you get to see that he's in the beginning. He's kind of just there. He's kind of like chaff in the wind. He's like, oh, there's adventure over here. Let's go there.
Yeah.
He's ready to be blown anywhere. And then, man, I think who steals this scene is C-3PO. Whenever they're radioing to get them to stop the trash compactor, and at the end when they stop it, and they're just cheering because they're so excited, and C-3PO's like, oh no, they're being crushed. It's so it perfectly
that's so
encompasses
great.
his character, because he's very ignorant. I think we can say
Much like the new Rogue One, whatever his name is, K2SO.
He's a little more aware there, but you just get to see who each character is and what role they play. I think it's the best Star Wars. MVP is Harrison Ford. He brings a whole new personality to the movie by playing a sort of anti-hero.
Oh yeah, Harrison Ford.
And you get to see his redemption, not his redemption, because we don't really know all that he's done. Oh man, when he shoots Greedo,
Who shot first?
Han did.
Yes, he did.
So, and then at
George
the end,
Lucas would argue otherwise.
you get to see him save Luke at the end. He shoots the TIE fighters that are chasing Luke while they're trying to destroy the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots what's his name? Darth Vader. Out
What's
into
his
space.
name? Darth
I
Vader?
don't know. He's sitting right behind us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
I think the character development in this movie is what makes me love it so much. Again, I'm an exposition guy. This movie just it does everything so well. That's all I'm gonna say.
But The Empire Strikes Back does it better.
Another thing. The practical effects set this movie so far apart. When they're in is it the Mos Eisley Cantina? I think it is. And Obi-Wan chops off that guy's arm.
Uh-huh.
It's just a real arm laying there. And you're like, oh my. If that had been in the prequels, there would have been fake blood spurting everywhere, and it just wouldn't have been as cool. Just seeing all the creatures, it makes it. I know it's a galaxy far, far away. It makes it seem like it's right here.
That is the best part about Star Wars. How it's like, it is a big space adventure, but at its very core, it's like anyone can relate to what's going on.
Where I think Star Trek falls off a little because it's so dense.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love Star Wars.
It's Star Wars.
Star Wars is so good. All right.
So I didn't get to argue the case for Empire Strikes Back there. I really wanted to, but I'm gonna withhold.
I didn't take that many shots in Empire Strikes Back.
No, I know, but I
okay.
just
okay.
I just got to prove that it's better.
I've got plenty.
Eventually.
I got a lot of uppercuts.
Okay, here we are at my top 3.
All right.
Number 3, we have. It's here. It's The Godfather.
Oh, okay.
Now we can talk about it. Okay.
I think I know what 2 and 1 are now.
Yes. I'm sure you do. Okay, so The Godfather is often called the best movie of all time, and it's for very good reason. It's pretty much as flawless as movies get. The story, the screenplay, the characters, the performances, the cinematography, the story, everything just works in this movie. And we were talking earlier, I think we were talking about how tense the scenes can be in The Godfather. I think the restaurant scene is one of the most intense scenes in any movie I've ever seen.
Once again, I was not disappointed by the ending of this movie.
Yeah.
It did justice to everything that it just delivered so well upon everything that had been built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's moments in movies where like there can be a really good ending or maybe a great ending, but there are some endings where you just know they nailed it. And that is one of these movies where you see that very last shot and it's like, what better way to end a movie than that?
I think they could have stopped after the first Godfather.
I think they could have stopped after the second Godfather. Okay, we could talk about The Godfather another day too, but let's talk about The Godfather Part 3.
We could have a movie trilogy episode.
Yeah, we could. Oh yeah, we could do that. But really quickly about The Godfather Part 3, it is a really good movie. Really, the only thing that's wrong with it is Sofia Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola is the director of the movie, and he cast his daughter, who's also a really good director. She's done stuff like Lost in Translation, which is really good. But she ruins the movie with her performance.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what you're talking about here. But
it is one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a movie, ever.
Worse than, what's his name? Edward Furlong?
Whatever you're about to list, yeah, it's worse than that.
Okay.
You say Edward Furlong? Oh, yeah. Edward Furlong's miles better than Sofia Coppola.
All right. So this is one that Daniel has talked about that I have not seen that I do not need to see, apparently.
Which one?
Part 3?
Oh, Part 3, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, skip it. Should have stopped after 2.
Just like Terminator.
Just like Terminator. Just like a lot of things, really.
All right. Is that all you want to say about that?
Yeah, I will mention one more thing. The hospital scene also is one of my favorite scenes of all time. Yeah.
I can't remember. Oh, James Caan. That's his name.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, we could talk about the characters for hours. I do want to mention Sonny Corleone in this movie, played by James Caan, I think is my favorite character. There's so many good characters. There's Michael. There's Vito. There's so many good characters, but Sonny, I think, is the most interesting character in the movie. He's the most unpredictable. He's the most. He'll just fly off the wall randomly, and it's what makes his screen time so memorable, even though it's not as much as some of the other leads.
I would definitely agree there. All right, are we to our top twos?
Top twos. Here we go.
All right. So this movie for me is just so much fun. I love this movie. I could watch it whenever it's on TV. I have to watch it.
I have an idea of what it might be.
Did you just look at my paper?
No.
All right, take a guess.
Well, one that was going through my head was The Matrix, but we already talked about The Matrix. And another one that went through my head was Back to the Future. And yeah, those were the two that were going through my head.
So what's your guess?
Well, Back to the Future, because we already talked about The Matrix.
It is not Back to the Future. It is 1993's The Sandlot.
Wow.
Out of
The
nowhere.
Sandlot.
This, to me, is the best sports movie ever made, with Moneyball a close second. This movie is... The stars are no one you'd remember.
I am a bit shocked right now, because I thought you put Moneyball on the list to replace The Sandlot.
No.
So you don't have one baseball movie. Wow.
No, I love The Sandlot. It shows how kids work together and how it really shows how kids operate. It shows that, oh, you like baseball? I like baseball. Let's hang out. Oh, that kid over there likes baseball. And then just as soon as you know, you have a group.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean.
I think the main thing about this movie that makes me love it so much, it made me want to live back then. It made me want to grow up in the age where you have to ride your bike to see if your friends are at home.
Yeah.
And at the drop of a hat, you could go play a baseball game. I don't want to get super preachy right now, but the social media is really ruining a lot of things.
Yeah.
It really is. And I just
I
feel
barely
like
even use it anymore.
yeah, you just don't have those special connections that you necessarily want or that are demonstrated in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The relationships in this movie are so good, and it shows the value of friendship. It shows that just by going out on a whim and going to play left field with kids that you've never met before and getting hit in the eye with a baseball, that can form relationships that are going to end up saving you, because one day you might screw up and hit a Babe Ruth signed baseball over a fence, and your best friend's going to have to go get it for you, and he saves your skin. And you would have no idea that would happen at the beginning of the friendship. Otherwise, you would be going into the friendship knowing, oh, I'm just going to get something out of it. This movie is just all around fun. It shows how the kids have to work with what they have. The improvising that they do in this movie is so good whenever they're trying to retrieve the ball with I don't even know what it's like mechanical tinker toys. It's so cool. And a big thing for me is they tried sequels for this movie and they just did not work. And I think that speaks to the cast. The kids that just, I don't think they did anything after this movie.
Yeah, that seems to happen with a lot of movies like this. I can't really say for sure. I know The Sandlot's one of those, but River Phoenix was in The Sandlot and he did a lot of stuff after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it speaks a lot to the cast and also to the time period. I think trying to set another baseball movie where everyone just goes and plays baseball in our time period just doesn't work, because that's just not what kids do. Kids are going to go hop online and play on Xbox Live with their friends. They're not going to go out in the 98-degree weather and go play baseball.
Uh-huh.
Which, the setting for this movie makes it what it is. It shows how kids back then just had to do what they wanted to do with what they had. And that's something that I wish I could have done. Which leads into my MVP for this movie is the lack of technology.
Oh,
I think
good one.
If the kids had phones in this movie, it just would not be as good.
Yes.
The fact that they're all running through the neighborhood, they're like, oh, we're playing a game tonight underneath the fireworks. That would not happen. Kids would be out on the boat Snapchatting pictures of fireworks, and no one wants to see your 1-minute story of fireworks because 17 other people are doing it.
Yeah, I know.
Just stop it already.
Now you are getting preachy.
I know. Man, this movie.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I can't talk too much about it. I haven't seen it in years. Like, probably the last time I saw this was when I was 10 or 11.
This movie is just so much fun.
Yes.
It's not a complex plot. It doesn't have great cinematography and just stunning performances, but it's just a fun movie that you you have fun when you watch it. You enjoy watching this movie. And that, for me, is why it's my number 2 movies on my favorite movies.
Well, very nice. Oh, I do want to say, would you say it's one of the best dog performances in a movie ever? Up there with The Thing, maybe?
I would. As soon as you said that, I thought of I'm Legend, and I got a little...
Oh, I Am Legend.
I got a
little teary.
choked up. Man. Yeah, the dog, the way that they're able to build the suspense with the dog is also very good. And then at the end, whenever they end up saving the dog, it just shows how innocent kids are, really.
Yeah, it's hard to make an animal like a legitimate character in the movie.
Yeah.
But like the way they built it, you talk about exposition a lot, and they really like did the exposition really well with his character.
Yeah,
his development.
They set the stakes really well as to why you can't go over that fence.
Yeah.
The kids legitimately believe that they will die if they go over the fence.
Yeah, I know.
And that's, it's so, the plot is so simple, but yet it's so complex to children, to the kids in that movie, because they have to go through so many intricate details just to get a baseball back when they just knocked on the front door, which that was James Earl Jones. He was the blind man, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He should be the MVP of this movie.
That's crazy.
But no, it is sticking with no technology. All right.
Alrighty.
What's your number 2?
My number 2, I'm very excited to talk about, is Fight Club.
All right. Quick disclaimer. I had told Daniel, I bought Fight Club a while back, and I told him, all right, I have a feeling that Fight Club's going to be in your top 10, so I will watch it before we do the episode. And last night, I was going to watch Fight Club, but I could not because I did not have all my planning done. So I figured it would be better for me to actually have things to talk about than to watch Fight Club, which might have been a huge mistake.
Poor decision.
Yeah, depending on what you say about this movie. But I'm planning on watching it tonight, so next episode maybe I can give my quick thoughts on it. But
that would be good.
Yes.
Okay. So Fight Club is David Fincher's masterpiece. Oh, Fight Club. This is the first movie that I was genuinely obsessed with. Like, I don't know if you know this. I watched this movie 7 times in 1 month. In the first month that I saw it, I watched it 7 times.
That's crazy.
And after that first time I watched it, every single time afterwards, it just got better and better and better. If there's one movie that's like that, it's this one. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, also in this movie, are just so funny to watch and so like, oh my gosh. The twist in this movie.
I know the twist.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know the twist.
You told me.
No, Cameron told you.
Oh, Cameron George.
Shout out to Cameron
George. We will
George
have Cameron George on here soon
the twist
because
of Fight Club.
Cameron George is the people's champ.
Yeah, that is my favorite twist of all time, and it shocks me every time I watch it. And that's really like a lot of times once you know the twist of a movie, it's not as fun to watch it the second time around or the third or the fourth. But with this one and other movies like The Usual Suspects that I'm really also bummed missed out on this list, they have clues throughout the movie that when you go back and rewatch it, figuring out those clues and finding like the little breadcrumb trail, breadcrumb trail that led up to it is just awesome.
Kind of like The Sixth Sense in a way.
Yeah, and The Sixth Sense. There's a lot of good twists like that.
All right, well that's encouraging that I can still enjoy the movie knowing the twist.
Yeah, oh yeah, you will undoubtedly still enjoy it. I love Fight Club.
All right, are we at our number 1?
We are at our number 1s.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through the first hour and 20 minutes. If you have, our episodes won't be this long, but since these are our favorite movies, we feel like we had to give them a little extra time to just say why we love them.
Yeah, our future podcasts will be a little bit shorter than this one, but we got to go in depth with these movies.
Yes.
So that's why it's so long.
All right. My number 1 movie. I'm pretty sure you've looked over here and you know what it is at this point.
I haven't.
You don't know what it is?
No, I don't know what it is.
No idea.
I'm really anticipating. Well, I think I know. I think I do know because it has been mentioned yet.
Okay. My number 1 movie is 1985's Back to the Future.
Yep.
This is directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Michael J. Fox, and man, God bless Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. I hope he's the MVP this time.
He is.
Yes.
This movie has the greatest on-screen chemistry I have ever seen between Doc and Marty. It's the way that they are able to work together, and they're so completely different. They're like the age difference between them alone is like 40 years.
Yeah.
At least. And
we also you watched this with me for the first time you saw it.
Yes.
I'd already seen it before, but
as soon as I watched it,
did we see it in theaters for the first time? Did you see it in theaters?
No, but we did go back and watch it at the theater in
Yeah, we
on
were
Main
able to
Street.
see this in theaters, and it was awesome.
Yes.
And there's one part in this movie.
I have that written down.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh
go
my!
ahead.
Are you talking about the scene where
I'm
they're
talking
with the
about the
boxcar?
scene with the boxcar.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen the movie, the whole plan to get Marty back to the present,
Back to
really,
the future.
Okay, technically Back to the Future. They create this little model to demonstrate how they're going to generate the electricity to send to get the DeLorean back to the future, and oh my gosh, the car catches on fire after
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd lets out the most believable and funny gasp that I have ever seen in an.
We died the first time. Like, I had never even thought of that part as being so funny before I watched it with you.
Oh my gosh!
But we went back and replayed that part.
We
like
rewound it at least
5
4 times.
times. Yeah.
It was. That's the thing about this movie. The stakes are so believable, and it's oh my gosh, the performances are so good, and it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Everything about the movie, like when Marty first gets to the past, and he goes to Doc Brown's house, and he has that big thing on his head. It's the mind reading machine, and oh my gosh! And then he tells him that the president is Ronald Reagan, and he's just
Ronald Reagan.
And then you see him running to his
actor.
Yes, and you see him running to
So
a shack
funny.
with all his blueprints, and he's dropping them, and it's oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
they use the perfect. They use the perfect. Like, they could go really overboard with the like time shift humor, you know, like the
Yes.
fact that Ronald Reagan's the president, but he was an actor in 1955. They could go really overboard. They don't, and it's every time they use that kind of humor in this movie is perfect, and it's so funny.
They don't overuse jokes. I think one of the best jokes is when Marty says he says it I think twice. He's like, "Man, that's heavy," and Doc's like, "Heavy, there it is again. Is something wrong with Earth's gravitational pull?" And they could have easily just made that just a one note joke and just said it like 17 times throughout the movie, but they say it twice, and the way that Christopher Lloyd responds to it is just so good.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to... Oh, yeah. So Marty McFly's dad... What's his name?
George
McFly. When he goes back to the past... and it's that diner scene where he first goes, so he walks up, Marty's convinced him to walk up to his future wife who he doesn't know, and he walks up and he says... Wait, what's the first part? He says...
He's like, hi,
I'm George McFly. I'm your density. I mean, your destiny.
It's
so funny.
It's so good. It's able to portray clumsiness and wonder all just so well.
Yeah.
It's another thing I've written down about this movie, kind of like with The Sandlot. It made me want to grow up in that time period so badly, just because everyone knew everyone.
Yeah.
And man,
Oh yeah, I love that too. The fact that it's such a small town, and you get those really cool dynamics with the town and the town mayor, and
yeah, and you get to see all the parallels with like, Mayor Goldie Wilson.
Yeah, Mayor Goldie Wilson. Those are another the humor. Like they have both humor from like with the fact that like Ronald Reagan's the president in 1985, but he was an actor in 1955, and then they have reverse humor where like he's in the diner, he's like, Mayor Goldie Wilson, like the sound of that. And then he's the mayor in 1985.
The parallels are not annoying. They contribute so well. Whereas you could be like, okay, yes, we know that. Yes, we know this. And they just contribute so much to the different time periods. This also, I think, where this movie lies, where its strength lies, I think, is that it shows how small choices can affect your whole life so dramatically. Whereas if George McFly had not punched Biff at the dance, then Marty wouldn't even be there. And we get to see that on screen in such a real way as Marty starts to fade into nothingness. He just starts to disappear on stage.
And those are those stakes. Like they get those stakes in the movie that are so high. Like the picture's disappearing on the photograph the entire time.
Yes. And then at the end, or when Christopher Lloyd's on the clock tower trying to set up the wire, and
it's suspenseful.
Yes. And you realize that Marty might not get back.
Yeah.
And there's some movies where you're like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. Like Facing the Giants, you know he's gonna make the kick.
I'm so disappointed I couldn't include that one on my top 10.
That's a hard pass. But what was I gonna? I got distracted by the David. Oh man,
don't touch me.
What was I gonna say? Oh, okay, yeah. So some movies, you know that everything's gonna be okay, but in this movie, they're able to. You know that Doc Brown's a genius, so you know that if they can't get back this time, they will probably be able to figure it out again. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you want this try to work.
Yeah.
You want Marty to get back, and man, it also made me wonder: would I be friends with my parents when they were in high school?
Yeah,
That's a very
really
interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, it's a genius movie, really. Like the
Yes.
whole, like everything, like there's never been anything before like it, and there's nothing even now like it, because everyone knows, like, you can't touch Back to the Future. You can't replicate what it did in 1985.
No, yeah, there's no way that they can even try to replicate the plot. But like some of the characters, kind of like, I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty. But
No.
It's about a grandfather and his grandson, kind of the same age difference, and they go on wacky adventures in alternate dimensions and time travel and stuff. And it's a nod at Back to the Future, but it's not. Sorry, I just saw a text pop up from Dr. Smith. It's a nod at Back to the Future, but they recognize that we can't mess with what they did.
Yeah.
Because it's so untouchable. My
Yeah,
MVP,
it's one of those movies. If they ever make a sequel of Back to the Future,
yes.
like
If they try to make a spinoff, I would. Man,
a spinoff. Oh,
that'd be
like they did
terrible.
with Ghostbusters. No, I don't even like Ghostbusters, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. So my MVP for this movie is, of course, Christopher Lloyd. He delivers one of the best performances I think that's ever been on screen. He's just so wacky and charismatic, and you wish he was your grandfather.
Yeah.
Because he's just so much fun. And props to him for reading Marty's letter and putting on the bulletproof vest at the end.
Yeah.
The Vivians. Man, it's a great movie.
Yeah. Great movie. Yeah. Okay. My number one.
Is that the
Man,
one we
there's
said
just
we'd
there
come
doesn't
to
feel
later?
like there's enough build up here.
I know.
Okay, my number one.
Because everyone knows what it is.
Everyone knows. I mean, yeah, most people probably already know what it is. It's The Shawshank Redemption.
Boom.
Okay, now Jared just described a lot about like what he loves about Back to the Future and like why that's his favorite movie. Personally, it's just hard to describe like with words why I think The Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie of all time. I can really only use like the movie itself to describe how much I love it. Like it's Andy Dufresne's first night in prison. It's his first meeting with Red. It's the record player scene. It's like, Brooks was here, that whole scene.
Oh, man.
Red's monologue on rehabilitation, and of course the big reveal, which I'm not going to spoil, that make me know Shawshank's my absolute favorite movie of all time.
Yes.
No matter how long it's been since I last saw it, it's always on my mind. It's one of the few movies where I can say, like, I'm just constantly thinking about it. Like I said, I don't think a favorite film is something you can exactly explain. It's more of just something that you kind of know yourself. And it's like, that's exactly how I feel about this. So,
Definitely.
Do you have anything to add about The Shawshank Redemption?
Well, I feel like anything I say at this point is just
Did you wait? Was that was an honorable mention for you?
No. It's my number 8.
Oh, it was. Oh, yeah, number 8.
My MVP was Deception, and since you didn't spoil a lot, I'm not going to get into that. But
Yeah.
It's just, man, it's so. I don't even want to say that it drags at points because it doesn't. It slows down.
Well, yeah, it slows down, but it's very deliberate.
Yes.
Like the way, like, I think it slows down most. Like the key point I think where it slows down is with that segment with Brooks in the middle of the movie, but it's so perfect because, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in that scene, but it's like he gets out of prison and realizes how much, like, everything around him has changed, and he feels more at home in prison than he does in the outside world. And I won't really say anything else because I don't want to spoil anything.
That is one of the things I wrote down. I said it shows how prison can affect you.
Yeah.
The fact that Brooks wanted to stay in, he was willing to kill someone to stay in prison.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because you realize that this is all he's ever known, and you kind of want him to stay because
Oh yeah.
you've gotten to know him over the entire movie, which again, just it's incredible how they're able to expand upon so many characters in such a short amount of time. When it's how long's the movie? It's a little bit over 2 hours.
A little bit over 2 hours, probably like 2 hours and 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
But one other thing I kind of want to mention is this movie, it's not completely focused on the prisoners. I mean, it's focused on the prisoners, but it also focuses on the guards and
Warden.
the warden. And I love that about it because it adds those extra layers of, those interactions, particularly the rooftop scene with that one guard, the main guard. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now, but with Andy. That's one of my favorite scenes of the movie. And
where
the way
they're tarring the...
Yeah, where they're
Yes,
tarring the roof.
yes.
And the way Andy's able to kind of wiggle himself out of that situation is just awesome, I think. And it makes for a very satisfying conclusion, but I won't say anything else.
Again, another movie that does not disappoint with its ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the best endings ever.
All right.
Okay.
I think that is it. So
That
thank you for
about
sticking
wraps
with us
it
for the hour and a half that we were here. Anything you want to say?
Do you want to mention popcorn optional?
Oh, yeah. So just a quick nod. We got the idea for this podcast, or the theme of this podcast, from a podcast called Popcorn Optional.
Mm-hmm.
It's by an ex-teacher of ours, Cameron Slanina. He did an episode with his top 10 with some honorable mentions, and it really inspired us to do one of our own because we love movies.
Yeah.
So in the future, we will be talking more about recent movies, what we're watching, what's coming out.
Yeah, but make sure you check out that podcast, Popcorn Optional. I've listened to a few of them. I listened to a few of them yesterday, and that's really great stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to listen to. And the thing is, you don't just have to sit down and listen to a podcast. You can have it on while you're doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I hope you have enjoyed this first podcast of ours. We're hoping to be able to do a lot more in the future. Back to the Future. Stupid pun.
Yeah, we will we'll work on a name. We'll get that down, and we hope to see you next time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
See ya.